Well, good afternoon, everyone. I've got Mr. Dan Lipman here with Parker Lipman. Dan Lipman has represented Fortune 500 companies, but his passion is representing injured people and their families in medical malpractice cases. Dan has extensive experience pursuing complex medical malpractice matters. He's obtained millions of dollars in settlements and judgments for injured people and their families. Dan was selected by his peers for inclusion in Best Lawyers in America, and in 2017, Dan was named Best Lawyers in America as Lawyer of the Year for Plaintiff's Medical Malpractice Law in Denver. He has also repeatedly been named in Super Lawyers and is named to Super Lawyers Top 100 Lawyers in Colorado, as well as Top Lawyers in Denver's 5280 magazine. Dan is honored to be a faculty member at the National Institute of Trial Advocacy, NITA, teaching litigation skills to other lawyers. He has often been a guest speaker at the University of Colorado School of Law and the University of Colorado Hospital. He was elected by his fellow trial lawyers to the American Association of Justice Board of Governors. Dan is an avid skier and fisherman. He is a passionate fan of the University of Colorado Buffaloes, go Buffs, and the Boston Red Sox. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Courtney, I've known you for many years. Chrissy and Caitlin are very lucky to work with you. And I feel very privileged by you and Chrissy and Caitlin asking me to be on this program. You folks do amazing work. And I know how much time and effort you folks put into all your cases. So it's an honor to be sitting here with you today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So Dan, we've obviously known each other, for over a decade, but tell me about your journey as a medical malpractice attorney here in Denver.
Sure. So I grew up with my dad doing medical malpractice work in Maine, actually. And it's interesting because half my family are doctors. My stepmother was a professor at the University of Maine of nursing. And then my dad and my uncle were busy suing doctors. So it was an interesting family dynamic. But I had sort of grown up hanging around his law firm and seeing what goes into these cases, but most importantly, meeting clients as a little kid and asking questions, why is the person you're meeting with in a wheelchair? Why is the person you're meeting with missing a leg? And so I sort of had a natural curiosity about these issues as a kid. And so I went to law school, really because I don't know what else I could possibly do. And I went to work for a big corporate firm. And the reason I went to work for a big corporate firm that did not do any personal injury and didn't do any medical malpractice is because they were willing to commit to give me a job. And September 11th attacks had just happened when I was interviewing. And they were willing to make a commitment to pay me, which I thought was great. So I got to this big law firm, and they were amazing lawyers and important cases, but they're commercial disputes, not people, not humans that have been injured. And I was really missing the human element of the what I understood from growing up could be the practice of law. And I was missing telling the personal stories about how whatever happened impacted the individual, impacted families, impacted somebody's work. Because when I was growing up and I saw my dad doing those cases, when somebody lost their leg and they could no longer work as a plumber, as a carpenter, as on a production assembly line, it was devastating to them, devastating. And they needed an advocate. They needed somebody to help them take the next step. And that wasn't part of my practice working for a big commercial law firm. So I decided to leave. And as of 2005, I've been doing medical malpractice work ever since then. initially, I think I got most of the cases that were almost impossible. So a lot of them went to trial, um, and with some mixed results initially. But I think in this field, like many, you have to take your lumps. And they usually come, I think they come throughout your career. In fact, I know they do, but I think they especially come at the beginning. Um, and because looking back, some of the cases that I thought maybe were winnable cases then maybe really weren't. But I think I learned how to advocate for people and how to listen to somebody's story and to know or to realize how things that we all take for granted, when they're taken away, the tremendous impact it has on humans. And then to hear not only the perspective of if somebody is injured from medical malpractice because a doctor didn't do their job or a hospital was more interested in profits than their patient. And I think that's probably where the biggest cases come from. I know I'm generalizing, but I think the institutional failures are really where probably the biggest cases are. But when a hospital puts their profits and, short staffs their hospital, it leads to errors. And you see not only the problems it causes the individual, but their wife, their husband, their kids, their parents, their uncle, their nephew, everybody, the whole family unit is so affected. And that's something that really is generally absent in commercial cases, that there aren't a lot of people wondering, why did this happen to me? What happened? Why weren't they careful enough? Why didn't they take the precautions that we all know should be used? And I really enjoy that. Not that I enjoyed seeing medical malpractice and people hurt, but I enjoy trying to get people answers to questions that they need to have answered. That they need to have these questions answered so they can emotionally take steps forward in life.
Yeah, that's great. How long have you guys been in practice? How long has Parker Lipman been around? Is it 10 years?
Yep. We last July we celebrated Parker Lipman's 10-year anniversary, and we've been doing a variety of cases, but including a heavy workload of medical malpractice cases. Since we opened 10 years ago, we now have 5 lawyers, and which I think is a pretty good number. And everybody in the firm has their hands on at least some medical malpractice cases. I think that one of the critical things or critical parts of doing medical malpractice work is, not only getting experts, not just listening to the experts, but listening to the human stories about why certain people went to a particular doctor. What did they see that caused them to go to a particular hospital? Did they see an advertisement that said, if you think you're having a stroke, come here. We have the highest level of care. If you want to have a baby, come to our, beautiful birthing suites at this particular hospital. And, to hear those stories and then to see what I really see as a betrayal, that the care provided had no relationship with these advertisements, had no relationship with what should be done. That when there were problems, there was no concern about telling the people what happened and be brutally honest with them to explain the reason this person died, the reason the baby died, the reason the baby is in the neonatal intensive care unit is because of these things. Rather, moms, young people, old people of all walks of life are left wondering what happened. And I think, learning the whole story from beginning, how they went there through, I think is really an important part of our practice at Parker Lipman. And, why is that? One, the human element, as I mentioned before, is important. But I think in recent years, the term and I don't always like the term because it implies something maybe intentional, which I'm not sure is the case, but the word gaslighting is, we hear a lot of patients, a lot of minority patients, a lot of women, frankly, that they feel gaslighted, whatever the right term is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Gaslighted, excuse me. I'm getting old. And that they complained, they saw the advertisement. They went there trusting, and they told the medical care providers of these problems, but were dismissed. And it wasn't taken seriously for whatever reason. And had the rules been followed, they would have been taken seriously. Had those institutions done what they said they would do on their website, on their billboards, they would have been taken seriously, but they weren't. And we're hearing those terms more and more now. And I think that's something that we need to focus on, to listen to our clients, to let them tell the story, to let them know that they are being heard, to let them know that we're paying attention, so that the hospital system and the medical system can be educated about what has been missed. And had you just listened to these people and what they told you and what their objective medical symptoms told you, they never would have gotten to this outcome.
What I do is so righteous over there. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a customer of yours.
I tell my clients that for better or for worse, I leave the office worrying about their case, and I come in first. I'm the first, we're the first people in the morning to worry about their case. That I think a lot of victims of medical malpractice, they have to deal with a lot of issues just to get through their day. Like, how do I get in and out of the bathtub? When was that appointment that I made? Where did I write that down? How am I going to get on a snowy day like it is here today in Denver, Colorado? How am I going to get to my van, because I'm on crutches or in a wheelchair or missing a leg? And I think to be a client of Parker Lipman is, for at least most of the time, you don't worry about your lawsuit. You don't worry about the legal issues. You let us worry about those things. You let us worry about what the experts are saying. You let us worry about all the things that make up a lawsuit so that you can focus on getting to your appointment, getting to your van. If you can work, getting to work. Because almost all of our clients have their hands full. And they have to know that if there's an issue, that I'm worrying about it. And anybody that knows me, I worry and then some. I'm a professional worrier. And I worry about things that I need to worry about, and I worry about things that I don't need to worry about. My partner, Lorraine, says I'm the worrier in chief in the office. But I think for our clients, to let them know that we are worrying about their case, not in a way that is unproductive, but in a way to figure out what are the next steps, what do we have to do. And I think in conjunction with we're the first in the morning to worry about their case, we're the last at night to worry about their case, that we will be brutally honest with our clients about what we think they should do. There are certain cases that we investigate that we don't put into litigation, and our clients need to know that if we think you are going to lose or not win, we will be brutally honest and tell you that. On the other hand, if the other side puts a big settlement offer on the table, but it's not what you should take, it's not big enough, it's not good enough to compensate you for your injuries, we will be similarly brutally honest with you, because we've been thinking about this, because we've been worrying about this, that we will tell you that this is a lot of money, but we are being brutally honest. We don't feel that you should take it. We feel that you should continue. and we feel that they will come up with more money or the jury will come up with more money later. So in order to be brutally honest, we need to be the ones that worry last at night and first in the morning, because that's how we get to those conclusions.
I love it. Just knowing you for the past decade, I will say you are one of the most authentic, honest, and caring individuals and really fight for your clients. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the brutal honesty too.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and it's in Colorado, it's a tough place to do medical malpractice cases. And there's a lot of laws that make them difficult. That's why they're so hard. So we tell people that we can't tell you, we can't tell you if we think you're going to win your case until we can figure out every way you could lose. Mm-hmm. And we need to figure out every way you could lose your case before we go forward. And that's where the worrying and the brutal honesty comes in. But when we determine a way forward, which we often do, then we need to pursue that and empower our clients to stay the course, and see it out through the end, whether that be through settlement or through jury trial or through judge trial or through arbitration, whatever the end result is.
I love it. Dan, what's a training tidbit tied for the community? What would be a tidbit you would want to advise the community about?
The training tidbits are, I think, that are usually most valuable, or ones that I never came up with, ones that I learned from much smarter people than myself. I think the number one training tidbit that I think probably takes the longest period of time to learn, because I don't think they teach this skill in law school at all, is to very carefully listen, and to very carefully listen to everybody. And that means to very carefully listen to your client, to very carefully listen to the opposing lawyer, to very carefully listen to the judge, to very carefully listen to your experts. And that doesn't mean that you agree with anything or all that any of those people said. But I think we as humans, when we really listen, can really understand more where people are coming from and what is really important to our clients. And we as lawyers tend to get fixated on things that we think make the case go. You're going to need a big life care plan. You're going to need nursing care in the future. And that's great, but we're not hearing, in addition to those things that the lawyers want to do, something very important that the client needs to tell you, because we've not given them the time. We've not given them the time to talk. And if they don't have the time to talk, then we can't listen. Similarly, with opposing counsel, we may determine, these people are unreasonable. But if we really listen to what they're saying, they may be saying, I need help to get this case done for you. So I know that's a very broad response to, an easy question of, what is a training tip? But I think it's the most important one, because in law school, they teach us how to, they teach us to open our mouth, not to close our mouth. And especially, when dealing with an expert witness, it's not what I want them to say. It's what they are going to say. With our clients, it's not what I want them to say in deposition. It's when they open their mouth, what they are going to say. It must come out of their mouth. We work with a jury consultant named Mary Ryan, who's an absolute genius. She is a genius. And her term is, it must come out of their mouth. And when they open their mouth, what is it going to sound like? And if you haven't been listening, you don't know.
I think it's a good reminder for everyone, just in general, to slow down and listen. we're so quick to like, we want to be the one that, speaks up, or what about this? So I think that's a great tidbit for people to remember.
We, as a legal community, we just lost a great member, Tom Thomason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think a lot about Tom, one of the things he really did well as a great trial lawyer is he listened.
Mm-hmm.
He listened to everybody. And, have you seen the soccer movie on Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Do you remember one of the things he said when he was playing darts? He said, "Be curious, not judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental." And the only way you can be curious is to listen.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So I think that's a good lesson for all of us.
Dan, if someone is listening to this podcast and they've been injured concerning medical malpractice, what is the best way for them to get a hold of Parker Lipman?
Well, they can call our office at 720-638-9424. You can email us at Dan@Parker Lipman LLP as in Peter MAN.com, or to our intake specialist Evelyn at intake@ParkerLipman.com.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for your time today, Dan, and sharing with us. And we look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to your awesome team for having me.
Of course.